Good morning, it's February 17th, and this is To My Liberal Friends. Do we expect our judicial system to be fair and even-handed? I think that most Americans believe that it should be fair, and most want everyone to be treated the same. But unfortunately, that's not always the case. Traditional ideas of law hold that judges and justices make decisions based on a dispassionate application of the law to the facts at hand, with no regard to the political ramifications of that decision. While justices may see themselves that way, they are often perceived as essentially politicians, political actors who want to shape the world to match an ideology and use law as a tool to achieve that goal. While the Supreme Court is most prominently perceived as politicized, those attitudes extend to other parts of the federal judiciary. One of the unseen functions of the U.S. Senate is to confirm all judicial appointments to the various levels of the federal judiciary. This means they have to confirm judges to the U.S. district courts, the appellate courts, and ultimately the Supreme Court. The process is laid out. The President nominates someone to a position within the judiciary. Then they go before the Senate Judiciary Committee for a hearing on their competency. The committee then either votes to move them forward or rejects the nomination. And if it goes forward, the nominee then faces a confirmation vote by the full Senate. But things have changed over the years, and not for the better. In 2013, during the Obama presidency, then Majority Leader Harry Reid decided to change the rules in the final stages of the confirmation process. Up until that time, the nominees were subject to Rule 22 of the Senate. That means they had to achieve a supermajority of 60 votes to avoid a filibuster. Changing that rule was called the nuclear option, and it removed the process from Rule 22. Ultimately, Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader, removed that requirement for Supreme Court justices nominations as well. In both cases, I suspect they regret doing this, and it's led to a higher politicization of the judiciary. So what prompted Reid to make this change in 2013? The immediate cause of the Senate's action in changing its rules appeared to be the desire of the Obama administration to appoint 3 new federal judges to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia. This court is often viewed as the most important appellate court because many of the cases involving alleged federal government overreach go to the court. Critics of the administration accused President Obama of trying to pack the court with liberal judges. They also claimed that the court was underworked based on caseload and did not need any additional judges. The end result has been the over-politicization of the judiciary, in my opinion. Prior to this rule change, presidents had to carefully consider who they would nominate to the federal bench. The result was more moderate judges from both Republicans and Democrats. Once the rules were changed, if the president in the Oval Office had a majority in the Senate, he was free to nominate the most liberal or conservative judges as he wanted. The end result has been a more politically charged and politically active judiciary. When Harry Reid changed the rule, he was warned it would someday rue the change. But at the time, Democrats cheered the actions as Obama was able to nominate more liberal judges. But that warning proved to be prophetic. When McConnell followed suit by changing the rules on Supreme Court nominations, it allowed Donald Trump to nominate and confirm 3 conservative justices, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. And then it opened the door for Biden to nominate Ketanji Brown Jackson, a very liberal justice. But throughout the federal judiciary, we are seeing a more politically active group of judges. When a controversial decision is handed down in a federal courthouse, the first thing those watching the decision look for is who nominated the judge. And those filing suits are now heavily engaged in what is known as forum shopping. They will try to get their case before a judge that will engage in political activism that favors them. All that being said, I think I'm on firm ground when I say that liberal judges and justices are more prone to this type of activism. Too many of these judges seem to view the judiciary as a way to impose changes on society that Congress is unable to accomplish. They become the unelected deciders of what they think society should become. In a poll a couple of years ago, 62% of respondents believed that the Supreme Court decisions were driven by politics rather than the U.S. Constitution and the law. In the aftermath of Trump being able to confirm 3 justices of the court, Democrats and liberals want to pack the court by expanding the number of justices on the court. Of course, this would only lead to retaliation by Republicans when they had the majority, and they would expand it further. Pretty soon the court would look like a legislative body rather than the highest court in the land. What the public wants is a judicial system that conforms to the law. We don't want judges deciding cases on what they think the law should be. We have elected officials who can make changes in the law, but that's not the role of the courts. So in conclusion today, I would say 2 things. First, it's primarily liberals who bemoan the confirmation of justice that do not agree with their line of thinking, and it's liberals who want to change the institution because they're angry with current decisions. When the justices or judges make decisions that they agree with, they see no problem with the system. Second, if we would go back to using Senate Rule 22, forcing nominees to get a supermajority in the confirmation vote, then presidents would have to return to nominating more moderate people to all of the federal bench positions, and that would only benefit the American public. This has been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening, and if you enjoy the podcast, hit the subscribe button.